Right now, your fat cells are sending hormonal signals your brain cannot ignore, and your belly shape is the receipt, not a random outcome, not a willpower problem, a readable map of what's happening inside your endocrine system at this exact moment. And once you know how to read it, you cannot unsee it. Here's what almost nobody talks about: where your body stores fat is not arbitrary, it's directed. Your hormones are essentially zoning laws. They decide what gets built where, and they do it with extraordinary precision. So when fat accumulates in a specific pattern, low belly, love handles, upper back, all of it, that's your body documenting a hormonal story in the only language you can see from the outside. What this means is that the shape isn't the problem, it's the signal. There are 5 hormonal mechanisms driving fat distribution in most people. And the reason so few people actually fix this isn't because it's complicated, it's because they're addressing the shape when they should be addressing the system. Let's go through each one because they connect in ways that most health content never bothers to explain. The first mechanism is cortisol, and this is where it gets interesting because cortisol doesn't just make you stressed, it actively relocates fat. Think of cortisol as a logistics manager who panics under pressure and starts making terrible inventory decisions. When cortisol is chronically elevated, your body begins pulling fat from your limbs and depositing it centrally, specifically in the visceral fat compartment, the fat that sits deep in your abdomen, wrapped around your organs. Research published in the journal Obesity found that people with higher cortisol reactivity consistently stored more visceral fat regardless of total body weight. You can be a normal weight and still have a high cortisol belly. The shape matters more than the number on the scale. The practical reality of this is that your belly isn't responding to food, it's responding to your nervous system state. And cortisol spikes happen not just from psychological stress, but from undersleeping, from skipping meals, from intense exercise without recovery, from being chronically rushed. Every one of those things looks physiologically identical to your body. The fix here is deceptively unsexy. Your cortisol response needs a consistent wind down, a genuine one, not just sitting on the couch with your phone flooding your eyes with blue light at 10 p.m. Darkness, stillness, coolness. Your body needs to believe the threat is over. Now, cortisol doesn't work alone. This brings us to the second mechanism, insulin. Think of insulin as a storage foreman. When you eat, insulin rises, unlocks your cells, and directs glucose somewhere useful. But when insulin is chronically elevated, which happens when you eat frequently, eat a lot of refined carbohydrates, or eat in ways that spike blood sugar repeatedly through the day, the foreman gets overwhelmed. And here's what that actually means. Chronically high insulin suppresses fat burning almost completely. Your body cannot access stored fat for energy when insulin is elevated. It simply cannot. The metabolic switch is off. The belly-shape connection here is specific. Insulin resistance, which is what develops when your cells stop responding to insulin properly, tends to concentrate its worst effects in the lower abdominal region. That specific, stubborn low belly pouch that feels different from regular fat, that's often an insulin story. A landmark study from the New England Journal of Medicine found that visceral fat accumulation and insulin resistance create a self-reinforcing loop. More visceral fat makes cells more insulin resistant, which drives more fat storage in the visceral compartment. It feeds itself. The practical window here is real. Research consistently shows that allowing 4 to 5 hours between meals, with nothing but water, black coffee, or plain tea in between, gives insulin time to fall far enough to flip the metabolic switch back on. Not because snacking is morally wrong, but because the body's fat-burning machinery requires a low insulin environment to operate. If you've been grazing all day and wondering why nothing is changing, this is your answer. If this is landing for you and you want this kind of mechanistic breakdown every week, subscribing is the move. We go this deep every time. The third mechanism is estrogen, and this is where the picture gets more nuanced. Estrogen isn't one thing, it's a family of hormones, and its relationship with fat is bidirectional in a way that surprises most people. Fat tissue doesn't just store estrogen, it produces it. Specifically, an enzyme called aromatase converts androgens into estrogen inside fat cells, which means that as you accumulate more fat, you can produce more estrogen, which in turn encourages more fat storage. It's a loop with its own momentum. The distribution signature of estrogen dominance, which can happen in both men and women and is increasingly common due to environmental estrogen exposure from plastics, pesticides, and certain personal care products, tends to be fat around the hips, thighs, and the chest in men. But when estrogen is too low, which happens in menopause or in women with hypothalamic dysfunction, fat migrates to the abdomen. The belly shape shifts with the hormonal state. This is why the same person can carry weight differently at different life stages even when eating the same way. The practical lever here is liver function. Your liver is the primary organ responsible for processing and clearing estrogen. A liver that's congested from alcohol, from processed food, from environmental burden, clears estrogen slowly. Which means supporting liver health isn't a detox culture abstraction, it's a direct intervention in how your body manages hormonal fat distribution. Cruciferous vegetables, adequate protein, and dramatically reducing alcohol are the three most evidence-supported moves here. The fourth mechanism is thyroid function, and think of your thyroid as the thermostat for your entire metabolic rate. When it's dialed low, whether from autoimmune damage, from chronic undereating, from insufficient iodine or selenium, or from the chronic stress that floods your system with cortisol, which directly suppresses thyroid hormone conversion, your metabolism slows. And when your metabolism slows, even normal eating patterns create a surplus. Now, thyroid-related weight gain tends to be more diffuse. It's less a belly-specific pattern and more an overall puffiness, a fluid retention quality, a sense of metabolic sluggishness that doesn't respond to effort the way it used to. What most people don't know is that the most common thyroid pattern in modern populations isn't actually low thyroid hormone production, it's poor conversion. Your thyroid produces mostly T4, which is inactive, and your body has to convert it to T3, the active form. That conversion happens primarily in the liver and gut, which is where this connects back to everything we've already covered. The same gut disruption that affects your estrogen clearance affects your thyroid hormone activation. The same liver burden. This is why the system thinking matters. You cannot fix one mechanism in isolation. Selenium is a real specific thing here. It's a cofactor for the enzyme that converts T4 to T3, and most people are mildly deficient. 2 Brazil nuts a day, genuinely that's a real recommendation, provides a full day's selenium without supplementation. The fifth mechanism is the one that ties everything together, and it's the one almost no one talks about in the context of belly shape, the gut-brain hormonal axis. Your gut produces hormones, not metaphorically, literally. GLP-1, ghrelin, leptin signaling, peptide YY. These are produced and regulated in the gut, and they communicate directly with your hypothalamus to control hunger, satiety, fat storage patterns, and energy expenditure. And the state of your gut microbiome directly influences how effectively this communication happens. Here's the part that gets me every time. A disrupted microbiome doesn't just affect digestion, it produces compounds, specifically short-chain fatty acids and lipopolysaccharides, that affect insulin sensitivity, cortisol levels, and even how your thyroid converts hormone. Research from the Cell Journal in 2022 showed that microbiome composition could predict metabolic outcomes more accurately than diet alone. Your gut bacteria are upstream of your hormones in ways that most endocrinologists aren't yet incorporating into standard care. The intervention that has the most consistent support in the literature is diversity. Not one probiotic, not one supplement, diversity of plant foods. 30 different plant species per week shifts the microbiome composition measurably. It sounds like a lot until you realize herbs, spices, coffee, and cocoa count. You can hit 15 before lunch if you're paying attention. And this is where it all connects back to that first mechanism. Chronic cortisol disrupts the microbiome. A disrupted microbiome impairs thyroid conversion. Poor thyroid conversion slows metabolism. Elevated insulin blocks fat burning. Estrogen clearance suffers. And the belly changes shape. Not because of what you ate last Tuesday, but because of a system that's been running under suboptimal conditions for months or years. Your body is not working against you. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, responding to signals, adjusting to conditions, storing resources when it perceives threat, releasing them when it perceives safety. The problem has never been your body. It's been the conditions, and conditions can change. Before you go, drop a comment and tell me which of these 5 mechanisms you think is your biggest weak link. I'm curious which one hit different for you.